I'll call to order the April 13, 2022 Town Board meeting. Start with a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 9th, 2022 meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussions on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Treasurer's report.
I'll review the March financial statement. We had beginning balance and checking of $94,603, expenses of $18,399, and revenue of $2,360, for an ending balance of $78,565. Our investment accounts declined a bit, just like all of ours. That's down to $471,778. Expenses were up significantly because of salt and sand. I don't know if we want to talk about it now or in the bills, but there's another large salt and sand bill, and it'll be almost triple what we spent last year. Something doesn't quite seem right. So if you want to wait till we get to the bills, that's fine, but I think one of us should call them and see if we're getting misbilled, misappropriated.
Well, this comes from
Washington County.
Washington County as opposed to.
It's not Beulah. It's not Beulah. It's Washington County. So last year we spent less than $8,000, and we already had one payment of $12,000, and there's another one this month for $7,100.
I've had a call into them for, well,
Since the first one, yeah.
yes, since the first statement. The person I was told I needed to talk to had a death in the family.
Okay.
So I've been leaving messages. Someone finally contacted me today, and so I told her about last month's, and she was gonna get all the paperwork on it, the receipts and everything, because I didn't have those. Normally I get the receipts that are given out at the South Shop each time
Okay.
Beulah gets sand. So she
Yeah.
was gonna get those and call me tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It seems like they put way too much salt on this last one.
I agree.
It would have been almost triple.
They didn't need it.
Only one way to get paid. Blow it
It's
around.
true. So that's the reason for the increase in expense. Revenue is basically flat. Our cell tower rental rents have gone up by about $200 a month, so that'll continue. And then looking at the fund balances on the bottom, we're a quarter of a way through the fiscal year. We spent a little bit more than a quarter of the budget, mainly because of the snowplow and this salt and sand issue. That's it for the financial statement. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. I submitted our last year's financial statement to the state and sent you guys a copy of that. The only question I have on the finances on the ledger is balance on the books every month, and there's a check from January for Beulah for like $4,800. Is he not planning to cash that as part of the snowplow, or is he planning to cash that one? Or don't we
He's,
know?
well, we paid it before I received the invoice for the truck.
Okay.
So he's been telling me he's going to return it.
Okay.
and I'm not paying him for what we owe him over the amount of the truck until I get that back.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I'll just keep,
And I'm bugging him like every week.
that's fine. I'm sure, I'm sure it's no fault of yours, so, okay. Those were all the things that I have.
Thanks, Scott. Do we need a motion to approve the financial report?
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. I don't think we have any discussion. All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. The bills.
I'll make a motion, we pay bills 46 through 64 for a total of $39,345.71.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the bills. Any discussion on these bills? Other than the salt?
How about, what's the assessor charge us for doing the assessing?
Yes. And that, if you'll notice, is 2021, not 2022. So we'll get an invoice for 2022 yet. I don't know what's going on there. I contacted, what's his name? The Washington County Administrator, because I'm getting these, and I was gonna bring this up later, I'm getting these invoices from 2019, 2020. This assessor's bill was 2021, and so I've kind of asked, what's going on here? Did something happen maybe with the pandemic that your billing got screwed up? You know, if they're telling me we have unpaid invoices, and I said, well, if they're unpaid, it's because I didn't receive them. So I'm working on them.
Can we skip that one anyway, just not pay that one, since we're not happy with their service? Backing everything up?
That one was easy to check on, because we only pay it once a year. And we had not paid
Yeah.
it in 2021.
Yeah, when we went through the budget, it was odd that we hadn't paid that.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta vote on it.
Okay, all in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Planning Commission report.
Good afternoon, folks, and allow me to start by apologizing for the late entry on the memo that I just put on your desk. I sent it electronically. Township clerk just got it as well, and there's a few copies on the side. It's just my printer broke about an hour ago, and I was trying to figure out how the heck to sort this out in order to actually put something on you that, in front of you that would be coherent of the discussion that we had. We've had a couple of meetings on the topic that you, actually on the three topics that you commissioned us to look at after action that was reflected on the minutes from last time. You basically, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but you asked us to do three things. Look at the legality around short-term rentals. There was concerns about that. Asked us to look at the opportunity to regulate noise in our community, and then to offer a framework to do event-type short-term rentals. And we met a couple times, a lot of discussion, some community input as well. And there's two recommendations that I try to do my best in being succinct that are advancing to you today for consideration, and they're in bold. They work in tandem, by the way, so one without the other would probably not make a lot of sense. But let me start with the item of noise. I think that that's the most straightforward. We looked at what the communities around us do. We looked at what the state of Minnesota's got listed on this. And we're recommending, and the paragraph opens up with it, we're recommending that we basically amend our nuisance ordinance with MPCA language that references the state language on defining noise as a nuisance, and also all kinds of ways to categorize it, define it, measure it, and so on. It is my understanding of that is what St. Paul Park does, many other communities do. There's actually suggested language, or just generic, update our ordinance with that language. It's also responsible by the board, and I think by the community, that it reflects you paying attention to the noise issue and making sure that we've got a not vague set of language for the noise issue. Let me pause right there and see if there's any questions. I try to, as I said, be as succinct as possible with the recommendation of including MPCA language, which is grounded on the state statute around noise.
You know, it's really difficult to read the whole statute. It's, you know, it's got way too much legalese in it. It's got numbers that you don't have any frame of reference to, you know, the decibel levels and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, for the layman to read that and really get anything out of it, it's difficult.
There's an element of it, if I may respond, Mr. Chairman, there's an element of it that I do think I agree with you gets a little too involved. There's a summary of it that is really straightforward. Because the document from the MPCA gets into two things, sort of what the rules are and defining the decibel levels and so on, and then it gets into all the noise science, and that's where it gets like, whatever, right? But the reference of it, which is defined by statute, is actually something that by this action, all you're doing is acknowledging and incorporating.
Yeah.
It's relatively straightforward. It says, you know, there's these kind of areas, these are the dBs at these times, this is how you would measure it should you need to, and this is noise as a pollutant, and if you exceed it, you're going to have an issue. So that element of it, I know it's a little bit difficult to sort of sort out. It's at the beginning of the document and at the end of the document. And the closing of the document is just a state noise reference, which is codified in by. I'm looking at the clerk, because I know that from time to time I make mistakes on my language, and if there's anything that I'm saying incorrectly, I don't need to jump in. So I do agree, Mr. Chairman, there's elements of it that are like, what on earth is this? But there's also a succinctness of saying, in a residential area between these times, you cannot exceed more than 65 dBs, I think it is, more than half hour at any given time, or more than 55 for more than 6 minutes straight. And there's machines that are not difficult, they're not a lot bigger than this microphone, that you can put right next to the origin of noise and get a read. And it becomes quantifiable whether or not you're polluting or not polluting. It's not going to solve all issues. I just think that it's or I shouldn't say that. The Planning Commission thought that it was a good recommendation to include within our nuisance ordinance, which right now is vague, as vague can be.
It is vague.
As something like anything that disturbs the peace type of thing. So what does that mean?
I think it, for me, I think it gives really good backbone. So for the issues we are having or have had, it gives us something to really dive into deeper depths to have legality behind it. So it's,
Should we get some of those meters?
I don't think we necessarily need to do that because, you know, like St. Paul Park, right now they do this. So if their officers are getting called for noise, this is already what they're accustomed to, trained to. So I don't think that's for us to like really have to go out and check it, but I think it's what the communities around us use for defining noise. So I think it just fits in, I guess.
And if I may, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, I think that we also considered additional details. So we looked at, not in detail, but we looked at what Minneapolis does. I believe we looked at either Prairie or maybe Egan, and they incorporate that, and then they go way beyond that with all kinds of detail. That would, or at least the Planning Commission considered that it was just too much and not necessary at this point. But this would be a step that, with a minimal ordinance update, can bring rigor into what is noise and how to classify it.
Yeah, understand that.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the reason why that plays into the rental issue is because then it becomes the reference or the burden of proof for anybody, for example, wanting to even organize a party, never mind a rental entity. If we've got someone that wants to throw a bash, and then you can reference a particular measurement mechanism by which that individual would have to say, I am going to be in compliance with these rules, and this is how I'm going to reach alignment, if you will. Without it, then too much noise becomes just subjective.
Did you find a difference between typical work day and the weekend? Was there?
Weekends were not differentiated, but there is a different dB level between the times of 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., with the night hours being lower.
Yeah.
And there's 2 different reads depending on times, if I remember correctly. But it didn't get much more complicated than that, and it's not difficult to quantify. It should just have the right instrument, and it's very precise about where to measure from, what kind of a distance, what kind of weather needs to be outside, and so on. So it would allow us, should we have additional concerns about this, to at least say, okay, how does it comply or not comply with noise pollution?
Okay. Thank you.
You got it. That's the first item. The second item that we are advancing for your consideration, again, these are recommendations. They're for you to decide whether or not you give us guidance back to say, yeah, we want to work with it. Is to update the the township zoning ordinance, that is once in effect is 49.2, to include an interim usage permit language. This is the famous IUP. It is not what we have in our wheelhouse right now. We've been using CUPs, and after deliberation and a lot of work by the Supervisor Volta in educating us about what townships do, and hearing from the legal counsel and so on this topic, we're suggesting that this is a tool that we should include within our zoning ordinance. It allows for these interim permits to be leveraged, and as a matter of fact, in the closing statement of the memo, it basically says, should you adopt this as a tool, we want to look at what is conditional and what is interim, redefine them, and then make sure that we're issuing the right permits for the right type of activity. This is a tool that would allow to then register and put terms around the short-term rentals and the event permits. So this recommendation basically tools the township up with a mechanism without creating an ordinance to regulate rentals, whether short-term or not, and whether it is for events or not. Because it also allows to add additional conditions that are specific to the request that don't need to be conformed by everybody. So we think that it brings you the flexibility, the minimal registration, and also the ability to add conditions to a permit should you need to.
I was going to ask you, do you have anything, do we need to be doing something for adding that it's okay to rent, it's okay to, in our stuff, or are we thinking of filling that in somewhere?
Yeah, we think that, and notice that you mentioned like 3 bodies of work, and I'm answering 2, right?
Yep.
We think that by you recommending or adopting or I'm going to say agreeing to the recommendation of including IUPs in our language, we can explicitly put the short-term rentals and the events through that process, and then explicitly call them out as interim activities that can take place.
Perfect.
And therefore defining them as legal by action. We still would be in limbo for a little bit of time, but once we get that work done, then we can, you're granting a permit, right? Which can be as strict or as loose as what you define. And we would do the work in order to actually give you a recommendation of these are the conditions that you should meet. One of them being some level of assurance that they're going to be complying with the noise nuisance ordinance. So that's how they play in that.
Well, that's some great work. I really appreciate it.
The last piece of this, Mr. Chair and members, is just for you to tail of the memo. Obviously, these are 2 ordinances that would need to be modified. That follows the process. We think that is ideal because that's going to involve the community. Clerk can notify the community, but you can hear from the community directly on what they think about this. They may think there may be some sentiment out there of how folks feel about short terms, events, and so on. So you're checking the box and officially engaging the community in a way that they can give feedback on whether or not these interim uses are something that they have a passion for.
So would we tonight make a motion to have the planning commission start working on the interim use permit documents? And then the second motion would be, adopt the noise ordinance.
Yeah, and,
Statute.
Mr. Chair and members, I don't know of the mechanics, but I think if you make a motion to adopt the recommendations with this memo and the fact that it's been filed, we can just take it from there.
Okay.
Right? I think that would be okay. This is not it's not in final form. We would then present specific language on the ordinance modifications, and then we would look at what goes into an IUP, what goes into the CUP, give you that recommendation, you take it, and then you can make a motion or move on advancing that to a public hearing.
Sounds really good. We can do that
Now,
with one stroke then.
since we met the other night, I looked yesterday and today, and did you get a chance to look at Denmark Township's language, what they use for all this stuff?
I did not look at the noise or
I didn't look at the noise, the IUP stuff for that they got and all that?
I did look at at least the original language. I didn't see anything that we have marked up.
Okay, here's what I want to bring up. This is a little more complicated than we're making this out to be in reality. Okay, now this is from the state statutes. In order to issue an interim use permit, okay, this is the biggest one that gets us. The use conforms to the zoning regulations. So we can't just issue an IUP that says, you can have a circus over here. The circus would have to be allowed in the area in which you're going to give the IUP for. So that means we got to change the zoning ordinance to make these short-term rentals, whatever you want to call them, legal. Because currently, right now, they're not a permitted use. Okay, so right now they're illegal. Okay, so the first thing we got to do is make them legal if we're going to have them, and it sounds we are going to have them. Okay, so you got to make them legal first in order to give them an IUP. Then you got to have a mechanism in place to issue the IUPs, public hearings and what have you, and you got to have public hearings to change the zoning ordinance. So and then. Now, Denmark Township's got a good one. Now, their list, let me give you an example. Bear with me a minute here. Okay. Okay, here's what it says about their IUPs. Uses within IUP. The uses which are set forth in Section 7 zoning use index of this chapter with an IUP designation are permitted in an SFE district after the issuance of an interim use permit. Now, they got a whole list of things here that, we wouldn't have, right? Because they got several different districts and everything. What I would suggest, there's no big hurry on this, and I don't think we're going to get this done for a few months, to be honest with you. I would suggest you go back, and you two also read Denmark Township stuff, read the state law on it, and then figure out where we want to go, because this is a little more detailed than what we're laying it out to be.
Yeah,
and if we don't get it right, if we issue an IUP for something in an area, but that's not an allowed use in that area, well, we just set ourselves up for failure.
So when I asked him, he was gonna add to make short terms legal, rentals legal, permitted things, and that they would need an IUP to do that in our zoning ordinance, so wouldn't that?
Well, you gotta make them legal.
That's what
No,
they were
it's
gonna-
all done in one fell swoop.
Yeah,
We've consulted with the attorney on that. So if I may, Mr. Chair and Supervisor, we don't claim to know the specific details of how that would get done. The recommendation is that we can engage on specific language, and then we can get the attorney to make sure that what we're doing is gonna make it legal. And they're
Yeah.
gonna have a process to issue a permit, right?
Yeah.
We don't, however, think that this needs to take that long. We think that we can probably have something tangible for you next month, that you can say, with the, whether or not the attorney can make it, to say, yes, the framework that you're blessing, and that you're then taking a motion, making a motion on, is something that would withstand the rigor of any legal review, if you would. And that we for sure would take into consideration what other townships have done. We think that perhaps it's not identical to other townships, but this meets sort of the, I'm gonna say, the balance between the minimalistic approach that some of you wanted to apply, and at the same time the explicit registration of them, and some ability to put terms against a noise context that has created friction for the community.
Yeah, I guess just keep in mind, before you can issue an IUP in a district, it's got to be a legal use in that district.
And that is what the clerk just clarified, that
Yeah.
it would be done at
So-
the same, it can be done, as we understand it, in one amendment to the zoning ordinance that does both things, declares them illegal, and puts a process to actually do the permitting of it.
We can do it in one public hearing, but it's two separate sections. You're not going to do it in one paragraph.
I don't know if we
And
can
you-
or not, but yeah, it'll be amended to the same document. We probably should clean up a few other things on the zoning
Yeah.
document, so it would probably be a good opportunity to open it up, make sure that nothing in there is
Perfect.
sideways.
And you might have to have two different type of IUPs. One for,
Well, they're all gonna be different,
yeah,
as long
that's,
as they
yeah.
match our zoning.
Well, they just wanna go through, like, we have hair cutting people, we have dog cutting, or dog, like all these, so that's
Right.
what they wanna do, is see what's supposed to get a CUP, what's supposed to get an
Yeah.
IUP, and lay all that out, so.
Yeah.
We're just approving the start of it.
But Mr. Chair, if I may, what I want to give you some assurance on is you're not taking action on us doing anything other than telling you, if you accept these recommendations, the next level would be to with what specifically they are, and then explicit approval by the attorney to say, that makes sense, or no, that doesn't. So far, we just stayed back from engaging the attorney formally, except for the town clerk clarified a couple things, just to make sure that this was in light or in alignment with your recommendation, and if so, then we'll take it to the next step of detail.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Again,
I just suggest read Denmark's ones, what they got, to give you a good idea, I'm sure they didn't just dream that up out of nothing. And it's a good starting point, because we have nothing, so it's pretty, they got a pretty, I shouldn't say tight regulations, I'd call them spelled out real clear regulations,
Wonderful.
where we're kind of,
And once again, apologies for the late entry of the documentation. You have it also electronically, just technology didn't want to play ball.
You gonna buy a new printer?
I kicked it.
You kicked my dog.
Oh, like,
And that's all we got from the
Okay.
planning commission. Just one other item. We've got a number of things that we would like to look at and clean up. It was important to us to give you something that were tangible as far as recommendations, given the action you took last time. But we got our work cut out for us on a number of cleanup items and priorities and certain ordinances that do exist that perhaps can get updated or just be reminders of community adherence with it, or just even implementation of some of these CUPs and IUPs perhaps are not evenly distributed for everyone, and we just have to either eliminate the rules or actually uphold them and make sure that we can find out how to meet it.
Right.
Thank you.
That's, again, I really appreciate the work the planning commission did on this.
So should I make a motion to
Well, let's
get the planning
put it
commission to
in,
work, put it in later?
we've got short-term rentals and
Okay.
unfinished business, and we'll do it at that time. But actually, no, it's gotta be new business. Okay. Next planning commission meeting is Monday, May 9th at 6:30 PM. The next town board meeting is Wednesday, May 11th at 7 PM. And LBAE Thursday, April 14, 6 PM.
That's tomorrow night.
stand for?
That's for the taxes if you wanna,
Local Board of Equalization.
And
If
we
you
have
don't-
2 of us that are registered, right? Okay.
That's where if you don't like your property valuation, you have to come and complain to us first, so.
No, actually, they're supposed to call the county first.
Yeah, it's supposed to call the woman first, yeah. She'll tell you no.
Next item is set a date for the road review. Not gonna do it this week. Anybody have,
Mondays or Wednesdays are better for me.
Mondays or Wednesdays?
How about the 20th?
Next Friday?
Oh, the April 20th.
Oh, I'm in May. Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, let's do it.
What time?
Well, earlier than we normally meet.
5:30?
Yeah, 5:30 sounds good.
5:30 work?
Yeah, pick me up.
Okay.
Do we want to meet up here or someplace else?
I think we could meet here
Okay.
and then just do all this and then go back around to Geneva.
Are you going too, Cheryl? No. Are you? Okay.
Any other reports of committees or any of that sort of thing? Okay, let's move on to unfinished business. So short-term rentals, I think we'll talk about that in new business and then make the motion to adopt this memo from the Planning Commission. Any other unfinished business?
Yeah, I was gonna ask Cheryl, whatever became of that Culo property? We went to court on that. Anything become of it?
The court date is actually next month.
Oh, it got moved again, I suppose.
Yeah, because the judge retired.
Oh,
So it had to be reassigned to a different judge.
and how about Tucker's house? Where are we at on that? Is that just done for now? Well,
It's been done.
that's what I was wondering.
There's no new, we
No
closed that
new,
case.
no new
There's,
complaints or nothing, or,
there's no complaints. There's piles of stuff.
yeah.
I'll give him a courtesy call.
How long do we have code enforcement? They were gonna stop at this summer?
I've got that. Just a second. July 1st it ends, so through the end of June.
Is that building code or just code enforcement guy?
That's code enforcement.
That's a different group.
Okay.
Building inspections we have for the rest of the year.
You know,
I was going to bring this up later. Paul, you maybe remember, but before we contracted with Cottage Grove, we also had a company called Minspect come in.
Minspec, yeah.
Minspect. So I called them today to ask them if they do code enforcement, and they said that they do code enforcement for some of their communities that they support.
Oh,
And
so question, does anybody know if Cottage Grove is no longer gonna do St. Paul Park and Newport?
I don't know about those specifically. I do know, was it Denmark Township they also did? They're not doing them anymore.
but they might be doing St. Paul Park?
I have no
Okay.
idea.
I'll call-
I have
I'll-
not checked.
I'll call Andrew.
So I was wondering if you would want MinSpec to come in and give another presentation like they did last time?
Well, if Cottage Grove isn't doing St. Paul Park anymore, St. Paul Park is gonna be looking for somebody. And if we got the same company they have,
Okay, okay.
you know, now,
Right.
if St. Paul Park's still gonna have Cottage Grove, then
Then we should check
then
in.
it kinda makes me mad, you
Yeah.
know?
Do you want me to check with Kevin Walsh?
Oh, that's a really good idea, yeah,
Okay, I'll check with him.
okay.
How about code enforcement guy then? What are we gonna do for that?
Well, if we get somebody like MinSpec, they have people that do code enforcement,
Along with the building inspection
along
stuff?
with the building
Oh,
inspections.
okay, all right.
yeah.
Then we won't worry about that for a while,
Well,
a month.
yeah,
Okay, so depending on what I hear from Kevin Walsh, I'll update you guys, and
Okay.
then we can decide if we want MinSpec to come in and give a presentation.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Is that just a class to pass to be a building official?
No.
Because I know Phil Dupree said something about
There's
possibly, but
four,
it's
and
more than
then
that.
there's a progression.
Bunch of it, okay.
Yeah, you gotta be an accessibility specialist, then a
Yeah.
building official limited, then a building official. And you can't, have a contract with the state without
Oh,
being a building official. Yeah, it takes a while. I mean, I got all that crap, but I'm not so sure I wanna do it here. It may be a conflict of interest.
Just depends if you approve stuff or fail it.
Well, you know, if I like someone or don't
Yeah.
like it. And I don't want that to be, people thinking that. Okay, I think we can move on to new business. Comcast.
Yeah, it's come up a couple times about getting Comcast here so that we can do hybrid meetings. And it was $120 a month.
If we got that, I know Comcast, you can get phone service through them too, okay? And I know for my house, I got CenturyLink for the phone, Comcast for cable, and the two total together are the same with if I had it with Comcast. But CenturyLink is pretty poor service. But you were mentioning once you needed a standalone phone line for elections or something?
We have to have an analog phone line to transmit election results to the county.
Okay.
So we can't use an IP phone line.
Well, I think it wouldn't, it's $114 a month, but I wonder if we should get it. We've had enough meetings now.
Well,
where
I think for this building, I think it would be advantageous, because, you know, we don't know how this pandemic's gonna play out.
Right.
Is there an install cost or anything, or it's already hooked up, just needs service back?
I honestly don't know. I would assume there'd be install costs. What we had here before was CenturyLink.
Okay,
I-
yeah.
I don't know.
You know Comcast, they won't tell you until they're done, then give you the bill then?
We know all about them.
Well, I'll make a motion, we go with the, you think we need it, don't you, for what we're doing here? Make it life a lot easier for you and for the cable people, the television people?
Aren't they working on a couple
I
other
don't-
options anyway for hotspot type stuff? I thought,
They tried hotspot.
they tried a few different things.
I don't see why you need it for one meeting a month. I mean, the planning commission isn't gonna use it. It just seems exorbitant for one meeting a month. What's the point?
What do you think?
I understand both sides.
What's the benefit if we have to have a remote meeting? Is that the only thing?
That's probably the biggest ones we've had, remote meetings.
Can we just buy
And the
a
planning
neighbor
commission
across
has
the
had
street a
remote
Wi-Fi
remote
extender?
meetings. And there was a couple requirements that the state waived off, where if you have a remote meeting, you're supposed to have a spot where people can go
Yeah.
that can't get at it remote. And so far, they've just been saying, okay, you know, we'll waive that, but if they wanted to, they could force us to do that.
And then we can turn it on. It's not like an annual contract thing. If we need it, we could do this any month.
Well, I don't think we can just, it ain't even in here yet. We'd have to have it installed. We don't have cable coming in here.
I think
Okay,
we're
you need a
fine.
month's notice.
It's good seeing all the people coming in here. If we run into a situation we need it, yeah. I mean, it's not like it takes 2 years to get it.
Right.
For $100 a month for a meeting,
Well, then I guess,
I don't know.
guess the answer is no then, huh?
But
I think the answer is no.
The
Paul
answer is,
decided.
the answer is no.
Okay.
Paul said no, go with that.
Yeah, put in there, Paul said no.
So what about Geneva? Was that kind of a pie in the sky thing?
No, actually, it turns out now that we could have Comcast install up and down Geneva for free. The county would pay for half of it and Comcast would pay for the other half. She
Grant
did,
monies.
yeah, from grant money. And is it Megan?
Yep.
From Comcast? She also said that the cost was no longer $110,000, it's now $140,000. But still, it would be covered between the county and Comcast.
Well, we gotta do that.
Yeah,
Okay,
She's applying for the grants on it, so hopefully, it's
okay.
not guaranteed, but it's money that's
Oh,
just
it's
floating out
not?
there. No, it's not guaranteed yet, but Washington County just opened up, I think they got $2 million for Washington County,
correct.
so yeah.
So we don't need to make a motion on this.
No, it wouldn't affect the township or
Okay.
nothing, no.
Does that cover the drops down to the homes then too? Is that-
She thought it did, she's gonna get back, she said otherwise it might just be the 300, but she thinks if it's all approved in the beginning, it would go all the way to the houses. If it was held back, then if somebody wanted to install it later on, but I went to all the homes and got, signatures today with stuff, so hopefully everybody said they would at least hook it up for, get it if it's available under the infrastructure money. So hopefully it'll happen. It's an outrageous
Well,
number
that's-
for, you give us 10 grand in a trencher, we could get it done, but I guess this is
That's
where your
fantastic.
taxpayer dollar goes.
And we have records retention in here? Cheryl?
Between last month's meeting and this month's meeting, I sent you guys records that I'm disposing of because I have to report it to you for your review, and then I just need an okay.
I thought I sent you an okay.
Usually we do it here.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
Well, we're okay with that.
Okay, great, thanks.
Send it to Scott.
In January, you can start sending it to Scott.
Okay, we have, well, I'll make a motion to accept resolution 2022-05, a resolution in support of an equal rights amendment, resolution in support of an equal rights amendment. Why is it like that? Anyways, so this is about equal rights
For women,
for women. Do I need to read this to everybody?
I've got it on the screen.
Oh, okay, perfect.
About half of the states in the United States have amendments to the state constitution granting equal rights to women. But the other half, of which Minnesota is one, does not have. So this is just saying to the state, we support the state having an amendment to the Constitution that supports equal rights for women.
Well, I'll second your
Okay,
motion.
yeah, okay. Any questions about it? Can you move that up a little bit
Yep.
so they can read it, the rest of it? Yeah. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor
Aye.
of this? Okay. We have an appointment to the, oh, wait, I want to get, oh, here. I want to make a motion to accept, or accept the planning commission's memo, and this memo got those two items in it. The noise item and the IUP item. And that will give the planning commission the go-ahead to work on both of those.
Did you make a
I'll
motion? Is
second
what you did?
Oh, I thought I
I'll
did.
second that motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Motion's been made, and seconded to, accept the planning commission's memo. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm sorry, I missed who seconded. Dan? Okay.
Okay, we have some fun here. Appointment to planning commission.
Jake? From State Farm?
My name's Jake Jones. This is my fiance Keisha. We moved to the township about a year and a half ago. We live on the trail, big old farmhouse. We've been coming to meetings as often as we can, trying to take an active role in the community. I have some capacity and interest in being part of the planning commission and helping to advance the community as best we can. So.
Well, I really appreciate that. And Jake, is he mine? I mean,
Well, he's
my appointment?
he's replacing Paul,
Oh,
who was appointed by Dick.
oh, then he's Dick's.
Well, I make a motion to appoint Jake Jones to the planning commission.
Second it.
Thank you.
All,
You're in Eduardo's hands now.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 And that's about it. Anything else?
Do we have a ditch cleanup day? Did I miss that?
Yep, it's,
No, that's
April-
the road review.
That's road review, yeah.
oh.
We're not doing a cleanup day.
No
oh.
cleanup day?
No.
Okay. That's
Carry
easy.
your own stuff.
I had some things for,
Dirty.
Oh, yep.
after last month's meeting, I did send a request to Aggregate to extend our lease of this building for the years 2026 through 2028, the 3 additional years. I have not heard back yet. I already told you about the Washington County invoices. Aggregate season is starting tomorrow. Their first blast is scheduled for tomorrow. And then at the annual meeting, again, I can't remember his name, from the county,
Wayne?
Wayne Sandberg, thank you. He
lot of
brought
Waynes
in
out
this
there.
information on waterways, the different things that are going on. I believe he said Betty McCollum's been working on these things, and one of them was the MRRI, and he recommended that we submit a letter of support for the MRRI. So I was wondering if you guys want to do that.
Sounds like something Polta could write
Yeah,
up pretty easy.
that's
up his
Wayne
alley.
Johnson, right? The commissioner?
Well, it was Wayne and
And
Wayne, they're both
Sandberg.
Waynes.
Wayne and Wayne, it was
Yeah.
both of them,
Yeah,
talked about it, yeah.
Okay.
Sandberg, I think, is the one that recommended that,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the
little bigger guy.
director, yeah. So what do you need from us?
Do you want to submit a letter of support?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And we think Dick would be the best one to write it?
Absolutely, he's right here. He's
Short writing to the point.
ready and willing.
I support you.
Well, looks better coming from the clerk. Official
She
clerk.
can forward it.
I'm sure you've got all kinds of stuff about our local waterways that you want to put in there.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Send me a
We've heard
little
it.
email to remind me and.
We can send you the
Okay.
tape recorders of you talking about it.
Yeah, they don't want to listen to me. Okay.
Are we ready to, oh, yes.
No.
One more item, I think, so the Pioneer, the gravel portion of Pioneer is getting just awful, I don't know if you.
I got some stuff on that.
It is just awful, and I think that last year you gave the clerk sort of the authority to pull the trigger on the cutting of that.
Eduardo,
That needs to be-
I got info on that coming up. Just hold off. Just hold your, no, Paul thought we were done. We ain't
Okay.
done.
We're on other, it's time for Dick.
Dick?
It's the Polta hour. Hang in there. I got a couple of things. First, as long as we got Casey here, we've had some requests if we can get the blasting reports, the amplitude, the seismograph readings. Is that possible? Why don't you find out for that and have them find out how we can do that? Took care of that. Then I had another one, this probably, I don't think go anywhere, but,
I asked him yesterday too.
okay. Remember that Municode thing we talked about quite a while ago was a fair amount of money? How much was that? You got roughly, remember what that was?
At the time, it was $9,000.
Let's not do that.
Okay, all right. I would think about it though. Here's the reason being. Right now, our code is kind of screwy to follow because we got our zoning ordinance and then the one from the county that we adopted that they no longer update and maintain. We're using that, you know, but they're not going to maintain it, update it, what have you, but it references it. You know, it might be nice to have all that in one document. Maybe this work the planning commission is going through right now could tie into that. It might save them a lot of work. It might save some legal fees if all this was wrapped into one. Why don't you think about it till next month? I mean, it might be a good time to do that. Looking at Cottage Grove's zoning ordinance and codes and St. Paul Parks, it kind of looks to me like they both use that because the format was the same. And I think other ones do. But just think about it till next month.
But there's stuff in there that we will never use, ever.
Well, they don't have to put all that garbage in, they just straighten ours out and get ours in line. You know, if somebody else's is this thick, ours don't have to be that thick.
No, ours will be a tenth the size.
Yeah, just something to think about till next month. Okay, then, well, she brought up the town hall. It's something to think about too. We get kicked out of here in May of 2024 again, unless they extend our lease. They probably won't. So that means we'd have to build something in 2023, if we build something. That means if we want to build something in 2023, we better have our ducks in line by the end of 2022 on what we'd like, who we'd have for a builder or something out there, so.
We'd have to go to the library. We can't even buy a handful of 2x4s right now. I don't think you're building.
Okay, well, it's something to think about, yeah, we can go to the library too. I mean, there's a lot of places we don't even have to rent, we can go there for free.
Right.
Okay, but, you know, there's issues with everything you do on it, but something to think about between now and probably August, sometime at the end of the year, we gotta make that. And then Pioneer Road, I called Rumpke's yesterday, and what I'd like to do is do the same thing we did last year. The thing needs grading, but I think every year if we throw some gravel on there, at least for a few years, until we get a crown up where the water runs off the thing, you know, the east end of it, the water's running off now fairly decent. The west end is still not much higher than the cornfield. They gave me a price of, let's put it this way, last year they brought in 10 loads, smoothed it out, it was $38.80. this year they gave me a price. 8 loads and graded off is $33.28. And if more loads are needed, they were $336 a load. I'd recommend we tell them to do the same thing they did last year and just bring in the 10 loads. I'd have to do the math for the 10 loads, would it be another 1,000, well, $4,400.
I agree with you. Let's do that.
Okay. So I'll make the motion, we proceed with the estimate. You guys can look at it if you want. The estimate we got
No,
from,
you told me what it is.
okay. I make a motion, we proceed with the estimate we got from Rumka, they have Cheryl forward that to them. Now, they're not gonna do it right away, they'd have to wait till road restrictions are
Yeah.
off and ground's thawed out down there.
Well, why do they need to, because this is an all-season road.
Well, they could do
Them
that.
trucks are coming on,
Oh.
driving on this now.
Oh, yeah, you can mention that to them, that, except going out the other, well, they'd have to turn around.
Well, they'd have to turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't drive up right here. But-
I'd sooner have them wait till the ground's good and thawed out anyway. I think we get a better job done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
You gonna send that to them, Cheryl? Figured,
Oh, I'll second the motion.
okay.
Motion's been made and seconded to have Rumpka grade and put 10 yards of,
10 loads.
10 loads. 10 loads, that's a lot more than 10 yards. Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye. Are you done?
Aye, unless you don't want me to be.
No, I mean, that was.
How
look
about
at
any
that.
other from
We
the,
haven't even hit 8 o'clock.
how about other from,
Don't give them any ideas.
how about other from anybody else?
Anything else? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
We're adjourned.